It's the end of November, which means in just one more month it will be 2023. 2023 is looking to be a fantastic year for roller coasters, not just in the US, but around the world. Today, we will be ranking the top 20 new 2023 coasters around the world. A lot of people only rank well-known coasters, but included on this list are some coasters you may have never heard of. These are the top 20 best new for 2023 coasters. Before we get into the list, let's start off with two coasters that didn't make the cut. The first is Hot Wheels in Arizona. I'm not saying that this ride will be bad, it's just that we have almost no information on the ride, other than that it will have 3 inversions. We know that it'll be a second variation on the Chance Hyper GTX, similar to Lightning Run, but we know nothing more. Also, Luna at Liseberg is missing the cut, as this ride is one of the shortest Vekoma family boomerangs, and has no real thrill to it other than the fantastic setting. Now let's get into the list. Number 20, Choco Chip Creek. Energylandia is back at it again by investing in coasters. Evident by the name, Choco Chip Creek is a family coaster built by Vekoma. This is one of their mine train coasters, which will hopefully be smoother than other mine trains, even if it uses the same track type. It looks to be on the tamer side with no real thrill other than some theming, which should hopefully be scattered about. Choco Chip Creek looks like a good starter coaster to add to Energylandia's heavy lineup. 19, Wild Mouse. Wild Mouse is a coaster that everyone seems to be talking about, and it's for 2 major reasons. 1, it's going to Cedar Point, and 2, it's built by Zamperla, a company that's rumored to be working on a specific strata coaster in the park. Wild Mouse is a twister freeform model, basically a spinning mouse with some more unique elements. These include a turn with steep banking, switchbacks to get the train spinning, and some tight turns near the end of the ride. Wild Mouse looks to be a great fit for the park lacking family coasters, and it's joined by an incredible looking boardwalk section. 18, Dark Coaster. Dark Coaster is an indoor Intamin motorbike coaster going to Busch Gardens Williamsburg. It's advertised as having 4 different launches, when in reality it's 2. It just passes over them both twice. Because the ride has such a short cycle in the building, the train passes over a switch track to repeat the cycle twice. Dark Coaster should be a unique fit for the park, being one of the 2 family coasters in the park, and also the only motorbike coaster in the area, the closest being all the way in New York City. 17, Aquaman Power Wave. Aquaman Power Wave is a coaster 3 years in the making. Announced back in 2019. It should finally be ready to run in 2023, which will be perfect for the blazing Texas summers. This is the only water coaster of this type in the States, and the only one in a 4-hour radius of the Dallas area. It should be great for the park, having a swing launch, a small airtime moment, 2 vertical spikes, and a cooling splashdown at the end. 16, Arctic Rescue. Across the country from Dark Coaster is another Intamin motorbike coaster in the same chain, this time at SeaWorld San Diego. Arctic Rescue, in contrast to Dark Coaster, is outside and much more thrilling. It has 3 separate launches and a much longer ride experience, with tons of twists low to the ground and around rock formations. It includes multiple high turns above the rocks as well. Arctic Rescue looks to be much more thrilling than Dark Coaster. 15, Big Bear Mountain. One of the longest coasters on the list is Big Bear Mountain, going to Dollywood's Wildwood Grove. This is the biggest investment Dollywood has ever made. Dollywood is really a genius for having 3 coasters with only a 36-inch height requirement. Big Bear Mountain is another family coaster with 3 different launches. One of them propels the train to the max height located high above the paths. The whole ride winds around the mountains in the back of the park with onboard audio, twists, and water features. It looks to be a big hit for families. 14, Tron Light Cycle Run. Tron Light Cycle Run is the newest Disney coaster going to Magic Kingdom in Florida. It is a near replica of the one at Disney Shanghai, and will be yet another motorbike coaster. Tons of these motorbike coasters are making a return. Tron is going to be a fast-paced addition to Magic Kingdom with incredible theming to lights. The ride has very flashy moments and fast-paced sections around the buildings. 13, Pipeline. Pipeline is a unique one because no one really knows how the ride will be. Pipeline is a new generation stand-up called the Surf Coaster, where the seats move with the forces on the ride to make it more comfortable. The setting of Pipeline looks incredible, but the layout doesn't look as great. It consists of many high turns and 1 inversion, which is basically an extended corkscrew. Overall, Pipeline is going to be a unique experience, but it will either be very fun or very uncomfortable. Only time will tell. 12, Unknown at Fantawild. Yes, this ride has an unknown name, but the exact layout is known. The ride is going to be a new generation Vekoma in China, known as the Top Gun model. The Top Gun is a slower paced Vekoma with more drawn out elements separated by intense whips. The first inversion after the launch looks full of hang time, and in between that and some floater airtime lies a high-speed downwards roll. The two-car trains also make tighter elements possible. This Top Gun coaster looks to provide some intense moments but also graceful elements, making it perfect for any park. 11. Zambezi Zinger. Zambezi Zinger is a new hybrid coaster built by GCI. It uses their brand new Infinity Flyer trains and Titan track in certain sections, specifically a steel turn and spiral lift hill. The spiral lift hill and turn pays homage to original Zambezi Zinger located in the same section of the park. Worlds of Fun desperately needed a new coaster, and while another GCI located right near Prowler is a little strange, it does offer a more family-friendly experience. It features multiple tight twists and bunny hops compared to Prowler's more intense ride. Also, similar to Prowler, it takes place on a hillside in the middle of the woods, dipping around trees and the railroad tracks in the area. Zambezi Zinger should be a great coaster full of forces, especially near the end. Number 10. Palindrome. This is a fantastic name for a shuttle coaster. A palindrome is the word that is the same forwards as it is backwards, and this ride repeats its cycle forwards and backwards, turning back into the station using a turntable, which offers two train operations. After the vertical drop, the train enters a stall over a road, an interesting visual for those entering the park. After a whip and another inversion, Palindrome enters a one-of-a-kind vertical hop stall, where there is a bump in the track while going straight up. No one really knows how this will feel, other than that it will be vertical airtime. Then, riders repeat the layout, only in reverse. This causes less whip but also more hang time on both inversions, especially the stall. Number 9. Storm the Dragon Legend. Storm the Dragon Legend is the newest coaster going to Norway in the park of Tusenfryd. This is one of the only inverted shuttle coasters out there. Think of the layout as almost how a Skyrocket 2 functions. It starts with a swing launch out of the station and rolls back twice, once forward and once backwards. Finally, on the third launch, the train makes it over first inversion, a dive loop. The train dives towards the mountainside before gliding through an ejector hill. Yes, this is an airtime moment on an invert because this Gerstlauer will have lap bars. After the airtime moment, the coaster enters the final two elements, a dive loop and a sidewinder. Included in the short experience is an abundance of hang time in the back cars on the swing launch, as the backwards rollback is on the ending sidewinder. Storm looks to be a fantastic coaster to hold the title as the only shuttle coaster in Norway. Number 8. American Dryer Looping. American Dryer Looping heading to Indiana Beach was actually a Mexican roller coaster. After an accident, it was relocated to Indiana Beach, and it looks to be a fantastic addition to this park. There really isn't a positive intense coaster here, and only one with an inversion. American Dryer Looping has 3 vertical loops, with 2 being back-to-back. This may be the most intense coaster in America as well. Being a Schwarzkopf, the loops are circular, which extends the positives through the whole loop. Also, the whole coaster has very, very tight turns and valleys, making it look intimidating and also very intense. 7. Bombay Express. This GCI really deserves to be talked about more. I have not seen anyone talk about this GCI going to Bollywood and Dubai. Part of the reason may be that this layout is not a traditional GCI layout. Instead, the ride has many turnarounds with tight airtime pops and positives in between. Some have even described the ride as being similar to Balder. Each of the turns has the traditional GCI pops in and out. Also, when the ride is hopping near the ground causing multiple quick airtime pops, the structure is right above riders' heads, causing countless head choppers. The ride is pretty lengthy and intense, and it looks to be a great addition for the area. Number 6. Matugani. With the transformation of Dragster, Matugani is going to be one of the only hydraulic launching coasters in the United States. It's a relocation of Kanonen from Liseberg to the brand new Lost Island theme park in Waterloo, Iowa. Matugani looks to be a great ride for a small park and will bring competition to Adventureland, a park nearby lacking a launch coaster. And unlike the Stratas, the main element is not the top hat. The small top hat leads straight into an airtime whip, causing a very intense negative and lateral heavy moment, into a circular vertical loop. This loop goes around a future Heartline roll element full of hang time. In between the inversions lie tight turns and one very whippy airtime hill reminiscent of Zodra's finale. Number 5. Circuit Breaker. This may be the scariest coaster on the list. Looking at the layout, you can tell that this ride is incredible already, but that's not all. Going to Codaland is the America's first tilt coaster. This coaster separates the track to line the train up with the drop. Instead of the train moving to line up with the drop, the whole track moves. After the scary tilting drop, the train drops into a tunnel and up into some insane and wacky elements. The first element is an upwards element, almost a half loop before whipping out at the last second and diving downwards. This coaster hauls into a downwards barrel roll straight into another tunnel. The rest of the ride is full of quick whips and Immelman and one last Heartline roll before entering the brake run. Circuit Breaker will be a great addition to the United States. Number 4. Wildcat's Revenge. I know a ton of people will hate on me for placing Hershey Park's RMC so low, but the top 3 coasters are better than Wildcat's Revenge. This may be the most intense RMC out there, even more so than Iron Gwazi. This is because of its great mix of not only strong negatives and positives, but also laterals with its twisted double down. Basically, it's a double down with an unbanked turn in the middle, making it one of the best elements on any RMC. In addition, the ride features 2 wave turns, an underflip, a death roll, 0G stall, and an incredibly sustained ejector airtime hill on the scale of Zadra's Hill. Wildcat's Revenge looks to be an insane coaster, but the top 3 coasters are even better. Number 3, Gotham City Escape. 2 of the top 3 coasters are rarely talked about, and it's because they're located in Europe. Gotham City Escape is going to Park Warner Madrid in Spain, and it looks absolutely incredible. Like most Intamins recently, it features a launch with a rollback, but not at the beginning of the ride. Instead, this Intamin ends off the ride with a rollback and a turntable. Compared to Pantheon, however, this ride stays lower to the ground. This makes some elements whippier, but also hurts the ride in some areas. The first element is a slow launch into a hang-time filled inversion, which dives into the main launch. This boost flings the train up into the top hat, which may be the most intimidating looking drop ever. The beyond vertical drop leads into a low to the ground section. 2 whips lead into an ejector hill, which then leads into a sidewinder. However, this sidewinder doesn't bank all the way immediately, so it is almost a wave turn before diving into a tunnel. Here the ride loses some speed as it goes through a high whip and a corkscrew, but after a wave turn the ride picks up the pace once more through a second launch. I will say the second half is what really hurts the ride. After a couple slow turns, the ride enters the last 2 elements, a 0G stall into a rollback turntable. Intamin loves its rollbacks, and this ride looks phenomenal, but like Wildcat's Revenge, the next 2 coasters look even better. Number 2, Air Force 1. I bet you weren't expecting this RMC to top Wildcat's Revenge, but it's quality over quantity, and Air Force 1 packs a punch. The ride starts off with huge elements, including a massive drop towering over the park into 2 back-to-back inversions. The first being a dive loop and then a huge 0G stall under the lift structure. The ride then enters the extremely fast-paced second half after heading through a Steel Vengeance-like Outer Bank turn, which is one of the best elements in the world. Now the coaster goes on a rampage in the out and back layout. Airtime hills lead into a speedy Heartline roll right over the arcade in the park. The train hauls through tight turns, an off-axis hill, and another inversion before entering the finale. The finale of this ride could be the best in the world, and includes a ton of airtime hills back-to-back, a total of 6 ejector airtime moments in a row. Number 1, Tutatis. I bet half of you watching have never even heard of this ride, and I probably butchered the pronunciation, but Tutatis at Parc Asterix near Paris is another Intamin with a swing launch. However, this ride is basically Pantheon, but low to the ground. A common complaint with Pantheon was that it wasn't intense and it wasn't very whippy. Tutatis is similar, but with whippier elements and is lower to the ground. The beginning of the ride is near identical to Pantheon, except every hill has a sharper apex, causing for intense airtime. Also, the 0G winder on Pantheon is a wacky stall on Tutatis. Everyone knows what a swing launch is, so I won't really go into that, but if the airtime on Pantheon was that powerful, expect the same here. After the beyond vertical top hat drop, chaos breaks loose. 2 Maverick whips lead into an extended 0G stall, even longer than Pantheon's. The train takes 2 positive field turns separated by an off-axis hill, then enters an ejector pop. Following the airtime hill is more Maverick-like whips. Keep in mind that this ride has lap bars, before entering Intamin's signature wall stall, basically a wave turn. The finale of Tutatis is a whippy corkscrew, overbank, and a swift double up into the brakes. While shorter than some other coasters, Tutatis packs an insane punch, making it the best coaster opening next year. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Comment what you think the best coaster in 2023 will be, and have a great rest of your day.